Hello everyone, I am Queenie Rose Avila and I will be discussing to you about the history of electromagnetism. So before we proceed to the brief history of electromagnetism, let us first define what is electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is a branch of physics concerning the research of the electromagnetic force, which is a kind of physical interaction that happens between electrically charged particles. It is a manner where a magnetic field is generated by presenting the current in the electrode or in the conductor. So let's go now to the brief history of electromagnetism. Electric and magnets have been known since the distant past. During the early Greeks, they illustrate static electricity by chafing or rubbing two stuffs or objects together, and they call it amber. It is known as the capability of a material, when rubbed, to draw or attract fragments of papers or cloth towards them. In the early 18th century, a superintendent of the French Royal Botanical Garden named Charles Dufay distinguished that there were two kinds of electricity. These are resinous and vitreous. He found out that two like forms repel from each other, while two unlike forms attract. Early in the ancient times, systematic investigation did not arise up to the Middle Ages. William Gilbert was the first scientist who approached to the study of magnetism and electricity, and he wrote comprehensively all of his findings. With the help of tools such as static electricity machine and Leyden jars, scientists continue their experiments into the fundamentals of magnetism and electricity. Benjamin Franklin justified the analysis. In his modern knowledge of positive and negative charge emerged at this time. With his well-known kite experiment and other incursion into the science, Benjamin Franklin advances knowledge of electricity, inspiring his friend Joseph Priestley to do the same. According to Joseph Priestley, there was an analogy between the inverse square law of gravity and electricity, which was substantiated by John Robinson promptly, though his result wasn't published until his death. Henry Cavendish autonomously attested the inverse square law, but he too wasn't able to publish his results. In his unpublished work, he found that two condensers which are having similar geometry have capacity that vary on the dielectrics. Henry Cavendish was the first person to measure the resistance of various materials. In 1785, Charles Coulomb measured the attractive and repulsive forces with a delicate torsion and discovered the eponymous law. Scientists named Alessandro Volta invented the first primitive battery. He discovered that electricity can be generated through chemical processes. Many scientists seized on the new tool to invent electrical lightning. Meanwhile, a profound insight into the relationship between electricity and magnetism goes largely unnoticed. Hans Christian Ørsted accidentally discovered that an electrical current can move a compass needle rock. Sequence of experiments arisen leading instantly to the discovery of first electromagnet and electric motor. The first telegraph was created, and Michael Faraday created much of his excellent and lasting research into electricity and magnetism. He was the one who invented the very first primitive transformer and generator. The legendary Faraday established on with his lavish research, and telegraph reached a million milestone. The Industrial Revolution was in full force when Graham invented the dynamo and Clerk Maxwell devised his sequence of equations and calculations on electrodynamics. During 1870 to 1879, the first telephone and first practical light bulb were invented, while the term electron entered the scientific vocabulary. Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison competed to create the best way to transmit electricity, while Heinrich Hertz was the first person to broadcast and receive radio waves. Scientists discovered and investigate X-rays and radioactivity. On the other hand, inventors contested in making the very first radio. Albert Einstein published his special theory of relativity and his theory on quantum nature of light, which he identified as both particle and a wave. New tools such as a special microscope and cyclotron took research to a higher level, while many people get to enjoy amenities such as FM radios. Research later in time led to the discovery of computer and televisions. So that would be all for my discussion about the brief history of electromagnetism. Thank you and God bless.